Sony, a big name in the camera world, is getting ready to release a new camera called the FX3 II. People think it might come out as soon as September 2024, which is pretty exciting for camera fans. What's really interesting is that this new camera might actually replace two different Sony cameras, the original FX3 and another camera called the A7S IV. But why? Let's check it out. Sony is thinking about making their product line simpler, which is why they might do this. The A7S III, which came out in October 2020, is Sony's oldest top-of-the-line camera for video recording. It's been a long time since it got an update, and now there's a rumor going around that it might never get one. Instead, Sony might just focus on the new FX3 II. This is because the first FX3 was really popular, and they think the new one will be even better. So Sony has to make a tough choice. Should they keep making both types of cameras, or should they combine them into one? Now, let's talk about what this new FX3 II might be like. According to Sony Alpha rumors, it might use a 12-megapixel global shutter. While this might sound low compared to some other cameras, it's actually a good size for high-quality video. Speaking of video, the rumors suggest the FX3 II might be able to record incredibly smooth 4K video at 180 frames per second. This would be great for slow-motion footage. Another interesting rumor is that the camera might not have a cooling fan inside. This could make it very quiet when recording, which is helpful for capturing audio. Lastly, there's talk that Sony might offer a separate electronic viewfinder, EVF, that you can attach to the top of the camera if you prefer to look through a viewfinder rather than just using the screen. Remember, all of these are just rumors for now, and we'll have to wait for Sony's official announcement to know what features the FX3 II will actually have. Many thought that Sony might make a new A7S IV with a 24-megapixel sensor that could record 6K video. They thought it would have the best picture quality of any Sony camera. But now, it looks like Sony might be going in a different direction with the FX3 II. The first FX3 was already really good at handling fast movement without making the picture look weird. By using this new global shutter in the FX3 II, Sony is choosing to make the picture even clearer when things are moving fast, instead of having more megapixels or better low-light performance. If you compare the current A7S III and FX3 cameras, they're actually very similar. They both have the same 12-megapixel sensor, the same computer brain inside to process images, the same image stabilization to keep videos steady, the same number of autofocus points to keep things in focus, the same type of screen that can flip around, and they can both take pictures at 10 frames per second. They can also both record 4K video at 120 frames per second, which is great for slow motion. They even use the same types of memory cards. The biggest difference between them is how they look. The A7S III has a built-in viewfinder, the part you put your eye up to, but the FX3 doesn't. Sony made the FX3 smaller and lighter because they figured most serious video makers would use a separate screen anyway. So, what does all this mean? Well, Sony is trying to make a camera that's really good for video, but also simpler and maybe cheaper than having two separate camera lines. They're focusing on making videos look super smooth and clear, especially when there's a lot of movement. This new FX3 II could be a big deal for people who make videos, whether they're YouTubers, filmmakers, or just folks who want to record high-quality video. It's an example of how camera companies are always trying to make their products better and more useful for different types of photographers and videographers. Even though we don't know for sure what the FX3 II will be like, it's clear that Sony is putting a lot of thought into making a camera that can do many different things really well.